My name is Dr. Fasil Mohomed. This is an excerpt from the book for Ashmead Choate. And this quest started when I was in my early 20s as a young physician and pediatrician with Randy Kienstra, who was an older gentleman nephrologist and program director. And he was animated, manic, drank, smoked, chased nurses. But what he taught me was the most important lesson. He says, Dr. Mohomed, if you don't know what's wrong with the patient from the door, then you're not a real doctor. And what it enlightened me is to realize that what he was saying was vibrations. In order to learn and manifest a diagnosis without labs, without that, is to sense the vibration of the kids. What we told me in private is that they're in a state of natural mania. So how would I relate to this hyper vibrational state of the kids if I'm not equally as animated and high vibrational as they are? And from it, I realized that the true healing was to bring up the vibrations. So if I saw a kid from the door and my animation and loudness couldn't bring their vibrations up, I knew how ill they were from the door. So I essentially figured it out. And I continued to practice it. Now, in order to maintain, I had to learn to manifest and encourage and figure out ways to keep my vibrations up so that I may keep the kids' vibrations up. And what I learned from it is that I can then keep adult vibrations up and the nurses and other doctors and keep them up in order that they may perform in a state that they can't perform in a low vibrational state. My mania is an overstanding and a collection of the forces in me that's positively wild and creative. Now, you think that your nature is to be calm and humble because that's what you've been taught, because that's what you believe, but there's no proof for it. Sigmund Freud was wrong in that he said your brain was 95% developed by age 5. He was wrong because at age 5 is when we go to church and school and parents start disciplining us and teaching us reason and logic. The minute we started with memory recall and judging intelligence by memory recall, we shut down the playful manic side of our brain. What if, and this is what was been natural to me, is I never surrendered to any school or any teacher, and I continued to play. What I eventually started doing was playing with the concepts in school and having a spatial image of them up. By the time I was 10, I could do 10 images at a time. By the time I was in medical school, I could do 1,000 images and play with them. So I'm saying to you, what you judged and saw after I got a diagnosis of bipolar, you started noticing, oh, well, he's up, or he's down, or this stuff. But before, when I was working for 5 days straight, and saving babies night after night, and uplifting your spirit and your skid spirit and building you up, and cooking for you in order that you may enjoy, and enlightening and spreading joy, and gaining knowledge from each other because we spoke, it wasn't abnormal because I was beneficial to you. The minute we label, right, and that's where I say belief becomes, because you believe in yourself, and then you believe that you're normal, and then all of a sudden, because you have this belief and you're normal, you now can judge. But show me in the scriptures where it said to judge. You see, chaos is natural to me and a sign from Jah or Allah, the force, the cosmos, and the expanse. Why did she give us 21% oxygen to breathe? And we all breathe to exist. Why does the Earth's oxygen stay at the 21% for us to breathe? Have you studied the physics of oxygen? Its flow isn't laminar, it's turbulent. So instead of flowing like this and smooth, it's chaotic. Now, oxygen is a chaotic molecule that we need to survive. So why do we pacify it? We do yoga, we exercise, we take deep breaths to energize us. Why do we not embrace its vibrational chaos? Is it not God's gift to you and I? Can your logic and metaphysics explain why you need such a chaotic particle for life? You see, my study is not based off of anything any man has told me. It's only based off what I could prove. And what I could prove is only what I could feel. So I've lived my life eating, tasting, smelling, experiencing the world. And this is what I call metaquantum. And in my opinion, it's the way to gain knowledge. You know for a fact that the stuff you remember from school is reading and writing, counting, but most of it is gone because it wasn't metaquantum, it was memory recall. And memory recall is not true intelligence or knowledge. It was just a system devised to decipher who has submitted. So the minute you sit to memorize and recall, they know that their school worked because you have submitted. They broke your spirit of play and natural learning. So if you notice, a lot of young boys, and especially colored boys, have a different type of brain, and we're playful. And if they can't break the spirit, they label it and call it ADHD. So once again, we come up with labels. You're manic, you're depressed. But what if we just live in a natural state of submission to the forces in the universe? What if our moods were related to the moon and the stars? And what if we all, in our natural state, respond to the forces of the universe? My concept has been, if I bring my vibrations up, I could resonate in you, bring your vibrations up, and we could share and communicate and laugh and talk and learn. If I bring my vibrations up, I can resonate with kids. Essentially, what I've been all my life is just playing, and it's what has guided me, because while I play, I study and learn. And with it, my quest has been the science that I call metaquantum, which is to gain the knowledge of the world. Can you look and embrace metaquantum and study the forces in the universe, the plants, the animals, the elements? The answer is simple. Study the moon, the animals, trees, microbes, and elements. They're all in submission. And don't submit to anything but the force, the cosmos, and the expanse, Tao, Allah, or God, or whatever you consider it. Instead, you've submitted to iOS, and it's geared to give you a fantasia, like I have, which is the inability to imagine or see any images, which is why I've made my brain an external brain. You now have an external brain in your pocket, and it could be used for knowledge, but instead it's used for pleasure, and from pleasure comes addiction, and from addiction comes increased usage. And the purpose is that, it's no coincidence it's named Apple, right? And the metaverse is there for you to explore. But what it's doing is taking you out of the natural world and out of vibration and keeping you in a silent world. So all of a sudden, it's easier to stay on your phone in silence and read and look and get vibrations off of the videos. But it's not easy to conversate and talk and learn. And this coincides with political correctness, which is stay in your lane, right? And not interact with anyone in any way that could bring about change. The idea is not to bring about change, and I'm saying if you study yourself, live in a natural world, bring your vibrations up. You can gain vibrations from others. For me, it was important because it's what I used to diagnose kids for 20 years. And the kids were diagnosing me, and we were interacting and playing. So if the kid couldn't play, right? If I threw a ball at them in the crib and they didn't catch it, then I knew they were sick.